Hello, it's Stuart, the Unrepentant Atheist. Here we are with another clip. This one's from about 5 years ago. And Zach is calling in, claiming in that he's got a sense of God, and that's his evidence for God. Matt questions that. How can you know that your sense of God is actually pointing to a real God? And Zach replied saying that if he couldn't have confidence in his sense of God, that it was pointing to a real God, then we couldn't have confidence in anything at all in reality. And obviously, Matt spent some time on that. We're going to pick up the conversation with about 3 or 4 minutes to go, because that's where it gets really interesting.
And in that scenario, the only thing we've learned is that he's convinced he cannot possibly be wrong, and that there's no way for us to tell whether or not he's right. So what use is a sense in that scenario where there's a conflict? We can't resolve it. So what is it about the divine sense that you're trying to get to that you think has value other than just, like, for example, Zach, if you're convinced you have a divine sense and we can't test it, and we can't demonstrate it, we can't seemingly investigate it, what is it about the divine sense that you find particularly useful?
I'm not sure. Even if it didn't have a use, I'm not sure that it would not. I think that even if it didn't have a use, the fact that they have the sense is itself reason enough to.
Yeah, so just cutting in there briefly, I made a video yesterday. I was having a conversation with somebody who's into Alan Watts, and he also had this sense of a higher power. And actually, when I said to him, what does it do for you? And he said it guides him. So, you know, I suppose there's a use.
But you can't demonstrate that they have any.
Sure if you said this or some of the.
You can't demonstrate that they have a sense. And they can't demonstrate that they have a sense.
Right.
They can't even demonstrate it to themselves because it's not. They can't confirm it. So what is the difference between saying, I am convinced that I have a divine sense that I can't test or verify, and I actually do have a divine sense?
There is no difference.
Okay.
So there's no difference.
So this gets us nowhere at all closer to demonstrating whether or not there is a God or whether or not there is a divine sense.
Yeah, well, obviously he's gone silent because his mind is turning over, is spinning around in circles. He realizes what he's just admitted, that you can't distinguish between a real sensing God and a fake sensing God. He now doesn't know what to say, doesn't know where to go.
I think that at the very least something, if you have a divine sense, it makes the idea that God exists much more plausible.
Okay, and if I have a rabbit sense, that means that I find the idea that rabbits are sentient and magical much more plausible.
The Easter Bunny is real.
The Easter Bunny, there we go.
Right.
But there's a difference between having a sense and being. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you actually had a sense that the Easter Bunny is real, then either it's a delusion, or the thing is that with the Easter Bunny is that you can kind of confirm that with your other senses. The idea that the Easter Bunny is real conflicts with our other senses in a way that the divine sense does not.
Okay, what if I have a sense that there are universe-creating pixies that exist outside of space and time?
Okay. If you have a sense that that's the case, then you are just as warranted as a person who claims to have a divine sense, if you actually have an experience.
Sure, but is it true?
Like I say, we can't. Our basis for whether or not we can say it's true is no better, at least no better than our idea that this network of sense experiences that we have is true.
Is it true that you and I are having a conversation?
This is what he was talking about earlier in the conversation before I started recording, where he said, that if we couldn't have confidence that our sensing God is real, then we couldn't have confidence in anything at all in our own sense experience. Which Matt actually already debunked that, and now he's come full circle back to it again.
It may be true. It might not be. Personally,
this is the absolutely ludicrous thing. We've got something for which, we've got no empirical evidence whatsoever, in other words, a God, and is an absolutely fantastic claim. And people would rather cling on to that claim. And when asked a straight question, are we having this, is this a telephone conversation between the two of us or not? Start saying, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know, we can't really be sure of anything. No wonder Matt's getting so angry these days, and we're talking about this is 2017, so I don't know.
I don't actually know that.
Are you convinced that we're having a conversation?
There's some part of me that is, but it's not really something that's based on logic.
Then why would we keep talking?
What you mean? Like, what's the point?
I mean, this is somebody who's denying basic facts about reality in order to hang on to his God delusion. That's what it's come to. That's what people are prepared to do. Here's a cup. Am I holding a cup? Look, it made a noise on the table. Do I believe that I'm holding this cup? I don't know. But you know something? I believe in that God up there that I can't see and that I've got no experience of, but I've got a sense of him.
In the conversation,
if you are so willing to throw out the one thing that we would normally agree we have in common, which is a shared reality, if you are so willing to throw that out, why on earth would we have a conversation about things that you've already acknowledged you can't demonstrate? Because at this point, all you're doing is looking for, can I feel like I'm actually warranted in holding this belief, rather than whether or not the belief is likely to be true?
Right.
Okay.
And can I feel like...
I'm not interested in trying to figure out whether or not I can feel justified in beliefs. I care whether or not I have good reason to think they are true or likely to be true. That is the primary focus.
Right.
And in order to prop up...
And I agree with that, but I think...
Okay, then why on earth...
I just was going to say, and I agree with that, but... Sorry?
Well, I'm not convinced that you do agree with it, because you are advocating for this idea that the impression that one has that they have a divine sense is itself warrant that they have a divine sense, which then becomes justification for a God, a belief in a God.
Well, it's not quite like that. It's that the impression is as warranted. I take no... I'm not taking a position here on whether or not it's warranted. I'm saying that to the extent that it is warranted...
That doesn't matter. What if it's warranted zero?
The reality is true.
No. Okay, so now you are flat out denying... You are stating that your impression that you have a divine sense is just as reliably warranted as any other fact about reality.
Right. And
yeah.
Yes.
You have allowed yourself to go so far down this rabbit hole that you are in fact equating things that even you have acknowledged are not equal. Because there are facts about reality which we can demonstrate internally and consistently with that. Which is why we went to the thermometers, which is why I asked whether or not we're having a conversation. These are facts about reality which we can test within the scope of it. They are fundamentally different from whether or not you actually have a divine sense. This is something that we already went through, so you don't get to put them on equal footing, just like you don't get to take any specific thermometer that you haven't been able to test and put it on equal footing with thermometers you have been able to test. Even if we live in a fictional universe, even if we live in a matrix, the fact that this thermometer, these thermometers over here can be compared to a standard and verified to be reliable within this, and this other thermometer can't, means that they are different. So you don't get to say they're equally reliable.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they're equally reliable within the... So they're not equally reliable within the network. Yes.
So, are you more convinced? Are you more convinced that you and I are having a conversation than you are that you have a divine sense?
Brilliant question. Absolutely. He absolutely nailed it there with that question. Let's see what he answers.
No.
Okay, then I see no reason to continue.
We don't have any warrant to say.
I don't see any reason to continue because you're equating something which you acknowledge is not demonstrable, which is entirely subjective and personal, with something which is shared, which is testable. And so if you're not more convinced that you and I are having a conversation than you are about a sense which you can't demonstrate, not even to yourself, then there's no reason for us to have a conversation. But thanks.
Well, that was just completely, well, I won't say unbelievable, because I've seen so much of this nonsense from Christians. You've got two things here. You've got a conversation. You've got tons of evidence that a conversation is going on between the caller and Matt. I assume that he's dialed into the show. I assume that his senses tell him that he can hear Matt talking. He can hear his own voice. He could go back and look at a recording of the show to see that there was a conversation. He can hear Jen's voice. And it's all happening in real time. There's no good reason to doubt that a conversation is going on. And he's equating that with this strange kind of vague sense that he's got in a God that, as Matt said, he can't demonstrate to anybody. And he can't even demonstrate it to himself. And he's already admitted that it's indistinguishable sense in a real God and sense in a fake God. So that was so frustrating. But it really does demonstrate how far people are prepared to go in order to shore up these religious beliefs, that they're prepared to throw out everything in reality, everything which is that we've got evidence for, and equate it with this God belief. That's enough from me. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.